guys, welcome back to the channel. At this point, I'm back from my Europe trip, and I'm hoping to live up to my name and start doing daily uploads for the rest of the summer, excluding 3 weeks, one at the end of July, one at the beginning of August, and another sometime in August. During those 3 weeks, I'll be on vacation, and I'll have some other activities going on. But yeah, anyways, so I wanted to do this video. This was an idea I had for some time, and I wanted to talk about how I would have written the character Omega. Omega is known as the main villain of Ninjago Season 10, but he's also pretty much the series' most forgettable villain too, seeing as he only had 3 episodes, and he just really didn't leave an impact on the viewer at all. Being the series' 10th season, this season really did focus on our protagonists and the main characters, and I think it did that very well. However, this was also the final season of the Oni and Dragon trilogy, and was supposed to give us some pretty amazing villains, and that is where this season really did let us down. So actually, in this video, I'm not actually going to be focusing on Season 10, but rather Seasons 8 and 9. And this video, one of my solutions will not be more episodes. The main complaint for Season 10 is more episodes. And that's nice and all, but for this video, I want to actually take some different approaches at how I would have done Omega by actually focusing on the other 2 seasons of the Oni trilogy. So we'll start out with Season 8. Season 8 really laid the groundwork for the next 2 seasons and established some basic backstory for the Oni and Dragon. And the big problem with Omega is he really doesn't have a name, a title, or a position at all. He's just the Oni leader, and there's no real individual backstory that he has. And we really couldn't have set up it in Season 10. There wasn't enough time to do that with 4 episodes. However, I think it could have happened in Season 8. Part of the problem is that the Oni trilogy wasn't a complete thought by the time Season 8 was released, and by then they weren't even planning on including the Oni. That had just come up during the production of Season 9, the plan to have the Oni invade Ninjago. So I definitely would have given Omega more of an individual backstory, and I would set this up in Season 8. Here are a few possibilities for what he could have been. He could have been one of the 3 Oni warlords. Maybe hatred would be best for him, given his color scheme. Or he could also be the firstborn Oni, the counterpart of the firstborn Dragon. Or he could even be the first Bijutsu Master's father, with firstborn being his mother. And that would set up some really cool conflicts in Season 10 too. I mean, imagine Garmadon fighting his grandfather, Lloyd fighting his great-grandfather. That would be pretty cool, and I would have loved to have seen something like that unfold. And in Season 8, yeah, I would have definitely given Omega a title then and there, and really set him up as an individual back in Season 8. So that's what I would have done for Season 8. Now, Season 8 didn't really do too much for the Oni Invasion, but Season 9 is really where it starts to unfold. Season 9 has 2 main mysteries concerning the Oni, the first of which is Mistake's identity, which comes to be revealed in episode 90, and the second is the Oni Invasion, which also is hinted at in episode 90, and later confirmed down in episode 94. So these 2 big Oni mysteries did kind of feel conflicting to me. I mean, in a way, it felt like they were trying to keep it a secret, but at the same time, they both did feel kind of obvious too. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think Season 9 was great, and it definitely handled the Oni foreshadowing wonderfully, but at sometimes it felt like they were trying to keep it a secret, but at sometimes they were trying to make it obvious. One of the big clues was between the First Realm and Ninjago. In the First Realm, the ninja learned that the Oni are shapeshifters, while in Ninjago, we see this in action. In the First Realm, in episode 90, Faith speaks of the Oni as an everlasting night or consuming nightfall, and then literally right after, Garmadon refers to the Oni as a consuming night in the Departed Realm. So in that sense, it did kind of feel obvious. So if we're going to make the Oni Invasion directly mentioned in Season 9, since it is pretty, I think, in my opinion, it is definitely pretty obvious. I mean, when Garmadon speaks of the everlasting night, the Oni theme is literally playing. So the Oni Invasion foreshadowing in Season 9, I don't think was meant to be kept a mystery. So if it's not going to be a mystery, why not foreshadow Omega some more? In Season 9, I would have had Omega appear to Garmadon in visions and scare Garmadon. This would also add some more meaning to the Daughter of Darkness scene, which is when Garmadon first unfolds about the Oni Invasion and his concerns about it. Let us say that right before the Daughter of Darkness scene, we see a scene of Garmadon sleeping, and while he is sleeping, the Omega appears in a dream to him and warns Garmadon of their invasion. Garmadon is scared of Omega because he has seen Omega particularly in the Departed Realm before, so he doesn't want to mess with Omega, and then Omega pretty much challenges Garmadon to become stronger, mocking him and calling him weak. So then Garmadon goes to the Temple of Resurrection, where he pretty much thinks about what he needs to do, and then when he opens up to Harumi, the viewer knows more about the Oni Invasion too, and that Garmadon is particularly scared of Omega while he is opening up to Harumi. That is particularly what Garmadon is scared of. He's scared of encountering the Omega and having to eventually fight him, and he doesn't obviously want to die along with his father's realm. The relationship between Garmadon and Omega in Ninjago Season 10 was definitely one of the cooler parts of the season. Omega sees Garmadon kind of as a failure, as the Oni who was in Ninjago for so long, but failed to keep control over it. And that was a cool dynamic. Imagine if we had seen more of this dynamic in the past seasons too. I think that would only make this relationship even cooler, and it would have some more backstory behind it too, when the Omega and Garmadon finally encounter each other in real life. That would be really cool, and Garmadon would definitely be more motivated to take out Omega, seeing as in that dream Omega calls him weak, so that would definitely set up some more tensions between the two. Now, for the last thing that I would do for him right before his appearance in Season 10 is in the final scene of episode 94, an amazing scene where Lloyd and Wu talk about the Oni Invasion, and this is where it is pretty much confirmed to the viewer that the Oni Invasion is going to be happening. Imagine if right after that scene, we had a brief scene of the Omega manifesting out of the shadows and appearing in the First Realm, similar to what he did in that flashback scene from episode 98. Imagine if we had seen that scene or something like that scene in episode 94. This would be crazy for speculation too, and this would definitely end off the season on an even darker note than it did. The season ended off on kind of a spooky tone, but if the Omega had even appeared in season 9 right at the end, I think that would be really cool. Some great foreshadowing for Omega, and that would be awesome for the viewer and I think Omega's character too. It would just be really cool to see him manifesting out of the shadows, or maybe just appearing in a shadow cloud and saying something like the time of endings is coming, or something like that, where he just appears at the end of the season just for a brief moment, pretty much warning again the audience of his arrival. I think that would be very, very cool, and I would have loved to have seen something like this. Although I do love season 9's ending, I think even if they had included Omega in an ending like that, that would be really, really cool, and I would have personally loved to have seen something like that. Every Ninjago season has a main villain, and in some cases multiple seasons have a main villain too. For instance, the main villain of the original 2 seasons, I'd say, was the Overlord, definitely. But, with the Oni trilogy, there are 3 seasons that are connected, and while the Oni are definitely the main villains of the season, this trilogy kind of lacked a single main antagonist the way that seasons 1 and 2 had, and that was the Overlord. Now, the Omega was definitely the best candidate for the spot, being the Oni leader. But seeing as he really didn't have any backstory or any history in Season 10, and he as an individual wasn't really hinted at, and he didn't have an individual backstory or history again, so he definitely really wasn't the main villain of the Oni and Dragon trilogy. Although again, he definitely was, I think, the closest person or individual to being the main villain of the trilogy. Again, we can safely say that the Oni are the main villains of the Oni and Dragon trilogy, the main overarching villains of Seasons 8, 9, and 10, but the Omega as an individual is not the main antagonist of the Oni trilogy. But I think if he had had more foreshadowing, more of a title, more of an individual backstory, he definitely could have been that main villain, that single main villain that the Oni and Dragon trilogy kind of was missing. I like Omega, don't get me wrong. He's very cool, he's animated wonderfully, he has a great on-screen presence, he does feel like an intimidating villain too, but he is my least favorite villain, mainly because he is just so underdeveloped. But I don't hate his character. He definitely had a lot of potential in him, and it was a disappointment not to see more from him. So I definitely would have liked to have seen some more foreshadowing from his character. And that is how I would have written Omega. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone ever you know, and let me know how you would have written or improved the Omega Oni. Once again, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.